Good evening. Welcome to this special World of Crit video. Today we decide to look at some of the spookiest games in our board game collection and give you a top 10 list of best spooky board games for Halloween.
Sorry, I got scared halfway through your intro, so
spooky.
Yeah, it's going to be real scary. Spoiler warning, you're going to get scared. Make the children leave the room. We're talking about games that we find to not only be very spooky, but also generally good.
For the most part,
unless the spookiness is so palpable that it overpowers that
spooky
aspect.
or eerie, yeah. This is
Yeah, eerie, creepy. Before we get to the top 10 list, though, we have 3 honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut.
Yes. First, Nightmare. If you are a fan of this show, you'll know that we have been playing Nightmare for almost consecutively. We weren't able to get the last one, but we have for this year, so yay us.
Yeah, Nightmare is a game that is maybe not so spooky, but it does have a lot of jump scares, so that you got to give it some credit for that. It's definitely weird and Halloween-y. Another one we got is Dark Stories, which is a game where you have to solve puzzles by asking sort of yes or no questions, like 20 questions kind of, but they're all about murder or disturbing incidents. So there is definitely some creepiness, some creepy factor there. There's also some very, very stupid ones, however.
Yeah, there was definitely some that definitely are worthy to almost made the list, but then some that were just like, that's just the silliest thing ever. And finally, we have Time Stories, and that is because the core base comes with an asylum setting, which of course all asylums are terrifying.
Yeah.
And some of the previous chapters that we've played, one is a zombie apocalypse, and one that you actually haven't played, but I have, it sort of takes place in sort of a murder scene where you actually appear after everyone's been murdered, trying to find out what happened, then you go there before. So definitely has some good spooky aspects in some of their story packs.
So those are our honorable mentions, but now we'll talk about our actual top 10 spookiest Halloween board games. You want to start, or do I want to start?
I think you want to start.
All right, I want to start. All right, our number 10 on the list is Werewolf, and we are using this to encompass all Werewolf games and spin-offs, Ultimate, One Night, Legacy. Maybe not Werewords. That's not super spooky, but you could throw it in the pack too. If you know, Werewolf, the social deduction game, they're really the mother of all social deduction games.
Yeah, honestly, I think anything that has a hidden role, which will come up again in this list, adds a lot of the spooky factor for board games because it really brings that traitor aspect of you questioning the loyalty of everyone around you. Or if you're the werewolf in this case, how could you ruin everyone's day?
And of course, werewolves are a classic monster for Halloween, so fits right in. And get ready to hear us use the word spooky a lot more.
Oh yeah.
I like it.
In particular, I want to take a quick mention to the recent one, Werewolf Legacy, which is definitely interesting because you actually have a journal, and the game itself is going through the horrible history of what happened in this town. So it actually adds a bit more story and sort of scary elements into your regular basic game of Werewolf.
Yeah, it's spooky stuff, people.
Number 9 on our list is Dead of Winter. This is the first game in the Crossroads series of games from Plaid Hat Games, with the second one only just coming out. We got the preview at Gen Con. This takes place in a sort of zombie apocalypse, and you will be trying to survive a winter, but there may be one person who's not really working with you. We have played this game a lot, and we felt like there's always a lot of tension to the table, which maybe it's not a great straight fear, but it does have some of that sort of like untrustingness with others, because it's not just there's a hidden traitor, but everyone has sort of their own goals, and defining, like, you don't just win because your group survived, but you also maybe need to have a certain number of medicine stuff, which of course we have debated a lot about, which is good in the game.
Yeah.
But in addition, has the Crossroads. You want to maybe...
Yeah, those Crossroads cards where on someone else's turn you read a card and something may happen. And many of these events involve gross, horrifying, disturbing acts. In fact, they have like an R-rated sort of pack of cards you can get to add in there to make it more gruesome. And also, I think just that the infection die, which is anytime you move somewhere, you have to roll a die and there's a chance you just become a zombie. So there's a lot of suspense in that. Really, every part of that game, suspense is the name of it, I think. And I also think it's important to just have a zombie entry on our list because they're another classic Halloween monster.
And this game definitely does, I think, through those Crossroad cards, because not only are they just terrifying and sort of gory, but some of them have those I think the decisions you might have to make in a zombie apocalypse, which make usually the best zombie movies or shows really stand out when they have to face those very moral dilemmas.
It's about the horrors of mankind.
Yeah, we are terrible.
We're really bad. Number 8 on our list is Betrayal at House on the Hill. Classic haunted house game that is cooperative up until it isn't, and one amongst you becomes the traitor, and you go off to another room and read secret stuff. And I think that's really where the big spooky factor comes into this game, is when the other player comes back from that room and you're sitting at the table and you don't know what they were reading or what they're planning.
Well, even before then, it's the dice rolls. It's every time an omen's drawn, you roll like, am I going to be the traitor? And even if you roll, you might not be the traitor. It could be the person to your left.
Yeah,
it could be who has the highest intelligence. So there's always that, am I going to be the one who's going to turn? And we should mention all the scenarios too. I probably cover every single trope there is in scary movies. I mean, we've got werewolves, we've got dragons, we've got witches, we've got demons, we've got some even really weird ones there too.
Yeah, completely. This is not a game that I think is that great, but I feel like it has to be on the list. It would almost, if you're going in terms of pure content, I almost would want to make it number 1, just because, like you said, it encapsulates so many of those Halloween-y themes.
And unfortunately, as of this recording, we can't talk about the legacy version, which is not available yet. But that's definitely one that could change the tide for us on this list. Number 7 goes to Fury of Dracula. Now, we have played the 3rd edition, I think, at this point.
That's correct.
The 4th one is coming out from WizKids. The way this game works is one person plays as Dracula and the rest as vampire hunters. So not really hit and roll, but Dracula's movement is completely hidden. He's moving throughout Europe and you're trying to find him. And that's where a lot of the horror can come from, because when he's moving around, he's also going to be laying traps for you. So you can go into a city and not know he just set like some minions there waiting for you to go in there.
It's very scary. I mean, Dracula is the king of monsters.
Well, no.
Well,
Godzilla holds that title.
He's the king of humanoid monsters.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. They can fight it out. I think Dracula and Godzilla should combine. We'll see how the Dark Universe does and they'll cross over. But yeah, definitely another one that we almost put kind of alongside in this slot is Letters from Whitechapel about Jack the Ripper, but similar kind of creepy themes, and like you said, the hidden movement, not knowing where they're going to pop up next or what they've left for you.
Yeah, in particular when you're so certain that they were behind that door.
I'm getting chills. All right. Mysterium. This is the cooperative game where one player has bitten the dust, as it were, and they're giving out psychic messages to the rest of the team to try and help them discover who murdered them, where, and how. This is definitely lower on the straight-up horrifying end of our list, but it has the atmosphere that is really cool. Like you're at a seance and you really kind of can get into this mood and this zone. You put the right music and the lighting on, like there's a ghost among you.
Yeah, and in particular, it is also a fantastic game.
Oh yeah, it was one of our favorites.
We should mention though that the digital version has a single player mode which does up the creepy factor, at least in sort of a spooky story. I will say it definitely has a bit more on the evil presence there.
That's true. Or even scarier is if you play it online with strangers.
Oh.
Who knows what they'll say.
Our number 5 pick goes to Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, as well as almost everything from the Arkham Files series from Fantasy Flight. A lot of the Eldritch horror, your Cthulhu Lovecraftian stories will have some very great descriptions and truly terrifying horrors. I mean, the whole idea is they're so terrifying you can't even picture them. However, we feel that of them all, Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition stands head above shoulders on the spooky level. Partly because you're playing sort of in a small haunted house area and exploring your house, this house or train, which in the expansion. But it's controlled by an app, so it's not really, oh, it's because a hidden player is controlling and someone's gamifying it. If you may hear a creaking noise and you don't know what that means.
Yeah. I think that especially, and also with the music that is added there, there's a lot more unknown factor to it.
Yeah, I think with all the different scenarios, and some of them are, as I've ranked them, can be truly scary and terrifying in some of the descriptions. I will say that I think a close one above the pack was the card game, because that once again focuses a bit more on a story. But definitely, if you're looking for more of that ambiance, I think the Mansions of Madness will fit that perfectly for you.
Number 4 is 10 Candles. This is our only departure from traditional board games on our list. It's a role-playing game in which there are 10 actual candles on the table if you're playing the proper way. And you kind of cooperatively create a story together about terrifying unknown monsters in sort of the beginning of an apocalypse. And as the game goes on, those candles go out and everyone dies at the end. Always.
Yes, no matter what, everyone loses.
Yeah.
And to me, that general dread of no matter what, this isn't your general RPG where I can come around and be the hero. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to end happily.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's like what most great horror and survival horror is about, that it's you're gonna die. It really strikes fear into your hearts. I think another good mention with this one is Dread, which is another RPG. This is the one where you sort of have a Jenga-esque tower, and you have to actually use that and create suspense by trying not to knock the tower over. We haven't played that ourselves, but I think it fits in the same category of the spooky RPG.
Yeah, like, and that's what, even though it's an RPG and we probably want to focus more on board games, I was really pushing for this because of that, because every board game, even when there's a hidden traitor, there's the win element. And that's when this one brings is the no win element. And because of the candles, we actually have a video you can watch. And if you accidentally blow out the candles, which I did, you can spell even worse trouble. As we approach the top 3, things are about to get really dark and spooky. And our 3 probably goes to, I think, our only copyrighted product if you exclude Lovecraft, but that's open source, so.
True.
And it is going to The Thing. This is based off the movie in which one player in the beginning will be infected. And your goal as the infected is to be one of the players who gets the helicopter at the end. And if you're humans, you got to find out who it is so they don't get on there. This is a hidden role game, but we felt out of all of them, it just seemed to bring out the suspense so much more.
Yeah, it really does a great job of recreating the atmosphere from that movie, and that is also, I think, one of our favorite horror movies. So to have them so effectively adapt that into a board game, I definitely think it deserves a spot on the list. It's very spooky. It's very creepy. The little monster minis that you got to fight, even they are creepy. I've heard the complaint that it's sometimes easier to play the thing as just a straight human, and there's not as much suspense maybe that way. Your mileage may vary in that regard in terms of your strategy, but from our experience, it's been scary, I think.
I even just outside of horror movies, I think it's been one of the better adaptations of a movie to board game out there.
Number 2 is the newest game on our list, Nyctophobia, which is available in 2 spooky flavors. This is a game in which one player has their eyes open and everyone else is wearing dark sunglasses to keep them literally in the dark, as they actually have to use their fingers to feel around a board to try to escape from a dangerous murderer or perhaps an evil witch. Mm-hmm. And so this is one that can kind of instill some actual terror into your heart, because as a player, if you're unable to see what you're doing, you do really get kind of scared feeling around and realizing, oh, I'm next to the killer, or hearing the person who's playing the killer announce that they've just attacked someone, and you're like, oh my god, where are they?
In addition, depending on which of the roles you play as, you'll have times when they tell you to stay silent for a little bit, tell a lie.
Real classic scary moves. So not for the faint of heart, Nyctophobia.
After much debate and me trying to prolong this sentence, we've decided to award number 1 to Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. Outside of its very generic title, this is a hidden role game like many others on our list. But what makes it stand out is it's not only hidden role, but hidden movement for everyone. Unlike the one we talked about before, such as Letters to Whitechapel or Fury of Dracula, instead of just the one person having hidden movement, everyone doesn't know where everyone else is. You'll all be given the same map, and each turn, you'll be allowed to make certain movements depending on your role. And then the alien may choose to announce that they're attacking a spot, which will give away their hidden role, but you still don't know where exactly they may be.
Yeah, the way this works, if you can't picture it, is everyone has their own little like map where you're actually using pencils. So it's a disposable game in some ways where you're marking down on a sheet what you're doing, and also at the same time you're trying to listen to what everyone else is doing and making notes, marking where you think they might be based on their movements, which just adds to that tension more.
Right. You'll draw from a deck. It may tell you like you have to say where you were, where you haven't been, or where they made noise or not. In addition, if an alien attacks you, have to be like, okay, I know I made an attack 2 turns ago, so he could be in any of these areas.
Yeah.
But I could be here, and it's very fun. It brings that tension up really fast because you're like, I think I made the right calculation. Then the alien player just looks at him and says, I attack G7. You're like, I'm in G7.
Terrifying. I think this is a really interesting pick because I think this probably wouldn't be on a lot of people's lists. You know, you think of more of the traditional ones we already said, like Betrayal and Werewolf. But as far for our money, I think this is one of the most tension-filled games that we've played, along with a theme that is it's not traditionally Halloween-y, it's sci-fi, but it's still it's so frightening to not know anything. The less information you have, I think, the scarier the game is.
I mean, comparative to Alien, which definitely, in terms of sci-fi, is the most horror-related, and even horrors is high up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it captures what that movie's meant to be. So it might not be the actual copyright
It's
brought
not
over.
Traditional.
Right.
Oh, yeah, but it definitely gets that across for sure.
So yeah, those are our top 10, and we should mention these are from our own experience of games we've played.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know if you think that maybe there's something we forgot that you think is worthy of being a spooktacular game.
Yeah, but otherwise, if you're having a Halloween party coming up, looking for something new or different, check out one of these 10, or even one of our honorable mentions, maybe even Nightmare if you're feeling real brave. But don't blame us if you don't like it.
Until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this is the last YouTube video you will ever watch.
Oh, God.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more board game content. Every little bit helps.
Please, we gotta eat.